Hello and welcome back to Kim Reads as we continue with Happy Birthday, Kirsten. Chapter 5, Friends Come Around. Pick as many daisies as you can, Anna told everyone. We're going to make daisy chains. All 8 girls fanned out across the meadow. It was the day of the barn raising and they were picking flowers. The day was clear and sunny, and Kirsten's spirits swooped and soared like bluebirds. She stopped to look across the meadow where the men were working on the barn. Just after sunrise, they began to haul the big beams up with strong ropes, and by late morning there was an outline of a barn where there had been only open sky. The prairie didn't seem so wide with the new barn there. Kirsten hoped Missy had kept her kittens out of the way of the workers. Later she'd look for the kittens. Now she buried her nose in the sweet-smelling bouquet she held. When the girls had picked up all the flowers they could carry, they took them back to Aunt Inger's house and decorated them in the big room with daisy chains. When they sat outside under the dapple shade of the maple tree to sew, Kirsten had not finished the design on her square, but the other girls had finished theirs. When they laid together on the grass, the squares made a lively blue pattern of blues, red, green, browns, and whites. Mary arranged them. We'll use a running stitch to join the squares. This part will go quickly, she said. Kirsten hoped it wouldn't go too quickly. She knelt with her friends in a circle, chattering away as they joined their squares to make the top of a small quilt. After the noon meal, the girls took up their sewing again. By the middle of the afternoon, they finished stitching the top of their quilt to a plain backing. This quilt isn't as large or as heavy as the one Miss Winston has, Kirsten said. It's a summer coverlet, Mary explained. No one had an extra blanket to sew between the layers. I'm sure Miss Winston will like it, though, Kirsten added. Anna giggled and hid her smile behind her hand. Anyway, I think it's lovely, Kirsten went on. Now that she was with her friends again, she felt more strongly how much she missed them. Mary was folding up the quilt when Aunt Inger called from the doorway. Aren't you girls ready for some sweets? Everyone shouted yes at the same time and ran into the house. Let me get Mama, Kirsten said. Mama was already in from the kitchen carrying a heart-shaped cake. Kirsten caught her breath with pleasure. Miss Winston clapped her hands and pretended to be stern. Everyone was sitting in a circle, she said. Happy birthday, Kirsten, Elizabeth said. She placed a wreath of flowers on Kirsten's head. The blossoms tickled Kirsten's ear through her long hair. Thank you, Elizabeth, she said. You look beautiful, Anna said. Now the cake, Mama called. When everyone was munching, Aunt Inger said, I have something for your birthday, Kirsten. She gave Kirsten a small package. New hair ribbons. Pink is my favorite color. Thank you, Aunt Inger, Kirsten said. Now Mom stepped forward, and I make you do something pretty for dress up. She handed Kirsten a white apron, fancy trim around the edges. Oh, Mama, Kirsten said, but when did you have time to make this? Miss Winston leaned close and whispered, where there's a will, there's a way. I could wear this at the barn raising dance, couldn't I? You may wear it in the hair ribbons, Mama smiled. As soon as Aunt Inger spooned strawberries into bowls and covered them with fresh cream, Mary stood up, brushed crumbs off her shirt, and straightened her shoulders importantly. Now we have something to give Kirsten, she said. She crossed the room, picked up a little quilt they had just finished sewing, and proudly handed it to Kirsten. Happy birthday, Kirsten, from all of us, she said. Kirsten blinked. Oh, thank you, but why are you giving this to me? It was for Miss Winston, she added and whispered. I told the girls that one quilt is enough for anyone, Miss Winston said with a smile. And we're giving this one to you because you missed all the fun of making it, Elizabeth explained. Well, wouldn't you know, we didn't forget you, even though you weren't with us. Anna took a corner of the quilt and spread it on the table. See these plain squares? We put the plain ones in so we could write our names on them. Then it will be a friendship quilt, just like Miss Winston's. Miss Winston took a quill pen and an ink pot from her school bag. You must use your best handwriting, she directed the girls. I don't want to see a single ink spot or smudge on this quilt. Kirsten stroked the edge of her quilt as each girl took signing her name as one of the plain squares. With all of the squares that had been signed, Miss Winston wrote on the border of the quilt in her most beautiful handwriting. For Kirsten Larson on her 10th birthday. It was late afternoon when the women began preparing for supper. The Men had finished raising the roof beams of the new barn, and now they used the extra board to make wide tables. The girls set out pitchers of water and beer, and the women opened their baskets and laid out cheese, breads, jam, butter, hams, roasted chicken, and cakes. The big pot of venison stew gave off a spicy scent. Everyone sat down to enjoy the feast, chatting and calling to one another as the sun began to set. Kirsten was almost too happy to be hungry. There would never be another day like this one, that she was sure. As the sky darkened, lanterns were hung on the crossbeams of the barn. Some of the men took out fiddles, and the barn-raising dance began. Under the lanterns, the grown-ups danced to tunes. Yankee tunes, German tunes, and Swedish tunes followed each other like swirling dancers. The children made circle dances of their own around the edges. The moon shone down through the open rafters like the biggest lantern of all. Kirsten was skipping with Anna when she felt Papa's hand on her shoulder. "Come on, 10-year-old," Papa said in his deep voice. "This is your birthday dance with me." The fiddlers were playing in a spinning waltz. Papa grasped Kirsten firmly around her waist. She hung on his shoulders, and they joined the grown-ups in the center of the new barn. Kirsten smelled Papa's good, clean sweat and the smell of new wood. Sometimes her feet left the floor when Papa swung her around, and the faces of the other dancers spun by like a moving daisy chain, but Papa guided her and kept her steady. When the waltz was over, Kirsten was so excited she felt dizzy. Or maybe she just whirled around too many times. She felt Papa in the crowd and went to the rest of the back to one of the wagons. As she sat quietly in the moonlight, she saw Missy moving her kittens in the new barn. One by one, Missy lifted the kittens between the posts in the dark corner. Kirsten counted 4 kittens. Where was the 5th one? Where was the little gray kitten? Kirsten jumped up and went for it in the pile of straw where she had all seen them before. She sat down on her hands and knees and searched. Then she heard a tiny mew. There was the gray kitten, but Missy didn't seem to be coming back. Maybe she had given up on this kitten. Kirsten took the kitten into her hand. She cupped it against her cheek and then snugged it in the deep pocket of her new apron. She could feel the cow's milk, and it would grow strong. She would care for it, and it would live. As Kirsten walked back to the new barn, the crowd began coming out. The men hitched their horses to the wagons. The women gathered up their baskets and sleepy children. Again and again, Papa and Uncle Olaf thanked their neighbors. The women and girls hugged and then waved. Goodbye, goodbye, good night echoed across the dark fields as the wagons pulled away. Kirsten headed up to their cabin. When she opened the door, there was Mama rocking the new baby in her cradle. "Aren't you weary, Kirsten?" Mom asked. Peter tried to stay awake, but you can tell he fell asleep in his clothes. Kirsten pulled her little stool next to Mama's chair. She liked the steady creaking the rocking cradle made. She took the kitten out of her pocket and showed it to Mama. "Missy left this one behind. I'm going to feed it. When it wakes up, dip the corner of a hanging into milk and let it suck," Mama suggested. "Tomorrow we'll see if Missy wants her little one back." It was good to be quiet in the cat oven with Mama, but Kirsten was much too excited to be able to sleep yet. She put the kitten in her lap and then laid her friendship quilt over her knees and tucked it close. After a moment, the kitten began to purr. Kirsten picked up the quilt square she had been able to finish and started to sew her design again. "What will you do with that square, Mama?" asked in a sleepy voice. Kirsten thought for a moment. "I think I'll make a quilt for our baby. It will take a long time to make, but that doesn't matter. I should have finished it before the weather gets cold again." "What a special gift that would be," Mama said. Kirsten smiled at Mama. "Remember when you told me how glad you were to have a daughter? Is it better to have 2 daughters? Mama leaned in to kiss Kirsten's cheek. "It's very good to have 2 daughters, but you are my only Kirsten. Happy birthday, dear." And that's the end of Happy Birthday, Kirsten. Thanks for listening.